Tonight on NBC, Jimmy Fallon and Bozoma St. John host the incredible new competition show.
I hired 10 creatives from all walks of life. They will be battling it out to see who can impress the world's biggest brands.
This is a huge opportunity.
This is the battle for the next big idea.
This is not play.
We're spending millions of dollars.
I'm so excited to embark on this adventure with all of you.
May the best idea win!
On Brand with Jimmy Fallon, tonight on NBC.
Welcome to the Recruiting Book Club. I'm Carmen Hudson, recruiting consultant and former TA leader and book author. With each episode of this podcast, I have invited a guest who's written a book about recruiting, sourcing, or TA leadership. I like to read each book before the interview, and that makes our conversations rich and useful. And sometimes we veer off the topic of the actual book and we get into TA issues. So I hope that makes it interesting and useful to you. Please let me know what you think. Or if you have a favorite TA book, I'll add it to my list of folks to be interviewed. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Welcome, Mike Wolford. I'm so excited to have you as part of the Recruiting Book Club because you have written not one, but am I correct in saying 3 books for recruiters, for the recruiting community?
And a 4th on the way.
And another on the way? Oh, we want to talk about this. Okay, great. So Mike is infamously the author of the AI Recruiter, but he is not the only author. He's a co-author of the AI Recruiter. Who's the other author?
GPT-4.
GPT-4. So this is amazing. It was an interesting, I read through every bit of it. And it's interesting because the voice isn't necessarily your voice. So that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if we can get the book to do that. But it's written in a way that poses questions about how to do this work using GPT-4. And then GPT-4 kind of responds. And then I kind of see or sense your editing as part of that as well. So we'll talk about all that. I have hundreds of questions already for you. So excited to get into those. But before we do that, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, and how you came to write this book.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Wolford. I've been in talent acquisition for nearly 20 years. I've been an agency recruiter. I was a technical recruiter. I was a sourcer. I was a recruiting manager. I was the sourcing manager at Twitter. And I have spent my career the last 20 years in TA, and about last 10 of those I've been writing. So I started with SourceCon. Moved to Recruiting Daily, and now I write for SourceCon, ERE, and Recruiting Daily whenever they'll have me.
Fantastic.
I've published a few books. The first one was about becoming the silver bullet. The second one was about how to find a job. And the third one's the AI Recruiter. And the next one is going to be called the AI Analyst, where I teach recruiters how to use AI for analytics.
Oh, fantastic.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
This book was written in 2023. What was it, later 2023?
Early 2023, yeah.
Early 2023.
Just over a year and a half ago.
Gotcha. How much has changed since you wrote this book?
You mentioned not hearing my voice in that one. And that was really true because I couldn't put my voice into that one. The back and forth you see in the book between me and the AI, that's really what it was like. There was only one model. This newer version should actually have more of my voice. Because what's changed day to day operationally is what I call GPTs, or what the market calls GPTs, which is building one on your own. So instead of just sitting down and typing and getting whatever, and then having to every single time prompt engineer the tool, right? Because every time you're going in, it's a new conversation. GPTs allow you to basically store your prompts into one tool so that you can use it for a specific thing. So for example, in the meantime, I've built myself an AI recruiter, GPT, and I do 2 things with that. And this is what's changed. This is a big technical change that allows you to actually get better results out of your work. And you can now program your own AI. You can program it in English. You don't need to know Python or Go or anything. You can actually program it in English. So I guess the first takeaway here is English is the new programming language. It will be. I mean, software engineering and those languages will exist for the computer, but the computer will be able to translate between English and Java. So it's already there. So you program it in English. That's the number one step. That is a huge change. So that's more or less been removed. Now it's just a matter of realistically getting on with somebody like me who offers training, or investing a couple hours in YouTube, honestly, and watching professionals do it. But that is a big change. And for those of you watching who want to use some of your own, couple of guidelines real quick. One, you do need to program it how to write. Remember that GPT is programmed to write to the most common denominator. So it is looking for the most likely next word. That may or may not be the word that you choose. As a matter of fact, it's probably not the word you would choose. And so the very first thing you have to do when you're building these is, with prompt engineering, teach it how to write. So tell it things like, you're going to be writing emails for me. That's a very specific type of writing. When you're doing this type of writing, number one, I want you to start every conversation or every email with a question or an interesting fact. I want the tone to be professional and friendly. I want there to be a question between each paragraph to transition. I want the email to end with a call to action, right? Very specific instructions about how to do that type of writing. So that's number one that we get. And then number two, we can also give it examples. Examples are huge. This is new in software engineering. No software engineer before has been able to code in Java and say, I want you to write a job description, and when you're done, here's an example of what it should look like. LLMs now have this comparative ability that allows them to say, I have my set of instructions and I have my example. And that becomes incredibly powerful. And so what I've done with my agent is it has all of my writing in it. It has my instructions for writing and then examples from my writing on how I do different things. And from absorbing my writing, specifically my articles, my books, it's picked up my tone. And I think if you read the next one, I'm happy to send you the draft. It's almost ready to go to publish. I think you'll hear the difference in the tone. If you read any of my articles lately, hopefully you're starting to hear me again, because the first articles I wrote with GPT were like the book. It was a back and forth. Now the articles I write with GPT, I'm using a pre-programmed agent that knows me, knows my writing, knows my topic, knows how I want it to write, and writes that way. And to me, that is the biggest change that we've seen. And to me, the big takeaway, if you really already want to go for the takeaway here, if you want to stay in the AI game and you want to be in recruiting, you need to take a class to learn how to build your own tools, because this is the next thing. We don't have to wait for somebody to come build us a scheduler. We can do it ourselves. We don't need somebody to build us a sourcer. We can do it ourselves. But I think this is the next thing. And that's the biggest change, is that instead of just being this one-to-one tool, now it can actually be a custom agent and help you with specific tasks, with specific instructions.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that is wonderful, but I will tell you, for people like me and others, I would guess, it's a little frustrating, because that work that is required to go back and explain to GPT, this is exactly how I'd like you to write this. I'd like you to transition in this way. I'd like it to be 5 paragraphs, blah, blah, blah. That's the most frustrating and challenging kind of work for me to do, because I want to go past that. So I think this is going to be a lesson in walking ourselves back and actually thinking through some things that we haven't thought about for many, many years, right? Ever since email, we started going, and we occasionally stop and say, are my emails too long, or am I getting across what I want to get across? But we don't spend a lot of time thinking about how to actually connect each paragraph to the next, how to actually make sure that it's the most effective email that it can possibly be. There are those who, like you, I think, who will do great because you are great at really pulling those things apart. And there are people like me who go, oh yeah, it should realize all these things that are in my head, but I have not pulled them from my head.
The BARF. Breaking news, acquisitions, research, funding. It's the week that was. It's a wonderful way to catch up on the week that was the week prior, kind of a John Oliver-esque type of show. Ryan and I pitch each other's stories. We laugh. It's fun. You can watch it on YouTube, but you can also subscribe to the podcast. Give it a listen. Give it a look. Thanks.
And that's the project I'm working on too, with ERE, to build a set of tools for the community. So, you don't have to learn how to do it yourself. You can borrow somebody's AI recruiter, AI sourcer from the community and the source that you trust. I want it to be one of the people who train us. So Social Talent, ERE, Recruiting Daily, SourceCon, I'm looking at you guys. And I'd be happy to build with them and embed tools so that
That's fantastic.
you can get used to using them. And the other thing is, these are really cheap. Like if we built something for ERE or the community like that based on their data, we could probably get it to people for like $30-$40 a month.
Mm-hmm.
It really wouldn't be prohibitively expensive to get it done. And I know everybody's on a tight budget, but if you're at a place where they're like, we don't have $50 a month for you.
You could be like me, always trying to build it myself, trying to get something cheap because it's me who's doing this. So you wrote AI Recruiter in 2 weeks. Did you start with an idea of what you wanted to share or communicate, or did it grow out of your interactions?
Yeah.
Start with an outline. How did you decide what you wanted to write?
So I started trying to figure out if this was real or hype back in December of 2022, really. November of 2022. And honestly, at that point, it was hype. I mean, I tried to write a quick book with it over the holidays. A followed B, B followed C, but it was garbage writing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was really short. Like, it was really hard to get a decent long answer out of the system. But when they released 4, things changed. So they released 4 in like March of 23, April of 23.
Right.
And so I had already been familiar with it, and I knew what I wanted to do with it. I wanted to write a book with it if it was possible, because I knew how much faster it could be. But when 4 came out, that became a possibility. And what I did with that was I told it I'm a recruiter. I gave it my background. I gave it a copy of my resume. And I said, I am trying to write a book for recruiters to use this. Let's do the chapter outline. And it gave me 8 chapters. I added a 9th. And then what I went to was I made sure that the topics were what I wanted to talk about and in a good order. And then this is the beauty of AI. This is how you get it to do so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I put back in the table of contents and I said, give me 10 bullet points for the first chapter. Pull that out. There's chapter 1, outline. Please repeat for chapter 2, 3.
Do you get a sense of where it was pulling this information from?
Yeah, it's hard for me to know. This was part of the magic then. I think we still don't know, right? Like, it's just pulling from its generic database, which was what was the fun of the first one. And so, after a couple of iterations, I even would play with it. I don't know if you've read some of the prompts, but like once in a while, I'm like, do you know what I'm going to ask for next? And it replies like, you're going to ask me to do the next step. Like, go ahead, please. And so once I had the 90 bullet points, then it was just a matter of having it write each individual bullet point. So now I give it chapter 1 with all the bullet points. I put it in. I say, you're a professional recruiter. I prompt it. And the prompt's in the book. You can see what I wrote to the computer, and then I get the output. And it was just fast because I knew what it should look like. I knew what a resume should look like. I knew what an outreach email should look like. Because I've been in recruiting for a long time now, I already knew what the expected outcome was. So it was a lot faster for me. And I just followed that process, and I kept it chapter by chapter by chapter. And at night, I would check off the bullet points that I'd written that day. And then it went to editing. And you know this from firsthand experience. I have typos. I have run-on sentences, right? I have awkward sentences sometimes.
Right.
I'm saying that for all of you who don't know, Carmen used to be my editor, so she knows firsthand that my writing can be a challenge. And I sent it to the editor, and they were annoyed. Like, the only minor changes were to some of my prompts. Everything AI wrote was word perfect. It was grammatically correct, commas were correct, spellings were correct, not a single typo. So just from that perspective, that saved me an enormous amount of time because editing the book took a day.
That's great.
Normally it takes weeks.
Right. It does. That was the longest part of writing the book. Actually, was me going back and rethinking, and I didn't use AI, and you're kind of encouraging me to at least try to write a good chapter on something leveraging AI just to see the results that I would get. So I read something just recently. I can't remember even what it was, but it was comparing the way that AI thinks to the way that human thinks. And the conclusion was that we have the same thought process. It's just that AI is, 50 million
Way
times
faster.
faster and can deliver so many more results. Do you agree with this? Has AI or working with AI changed the way that you think? Do you think in a more ordered, iterative way, or were you always that way? Because I don't think that way.
Yeah.
I have 15 million thoughts, and eventually I'll cull them to something that is digestible.
Yeah. Interacting with the AI has definitely made me pause. It's I don't know if this reference will land Pippi Longstockings. It is incredibly literal. Like it will do exactly what you tell it to. And that's the real frustration for me is like, it did what I said, not what I meant, right?
Right.
Like that's
Right.
the challenge. And I think that that's fair. I don't know. Alan Turing himself talked about the difference between a human mind and an artificial mind, which is where he comes up with his test, right? You're asking questions over text and you get an answer. If you can't tell if you're talking to a human or a computer, then it's passed the test. And so the only way I think is it doesn't think exactly like you, but it thinks like us, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Because that's the data it's trained on. It's trained on books. It's basically a huge nerd. It's read everything. Everything that can be read, it's read. And unlike us, where it's different than us, is it didn't forget anything it read. If we read everything in human history, it wouldn't fit in our head. Well, first of all, it wouldn't fit in our head. The human capacity for knowledge is like 44 million books or something like that, which is an insane number. It's a huge amount of data. But there's something like 4 billion books or something
Right.
It's just there's not enough in here to store it. Not enough storage space.
4,000 books would be my guess, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And the
It's
thing
a lot.
about us is the more data we get, the better at pattern recognition we are, right? This is
Right.
one of the values that we see in information. Oh, the animals come back every spring. Huh. Hey, we notice.
Right.
And it's a cycle, right? It's a pattern. Even ancient humans understood cycles and patterns. This is pattern recognition. And it's because they were able to gather enough data about that. That's why they put it in stone. So it didn't go anywhere. So you could, once you knew it, you knew it. You didn't lose it.
Right.
There's this big thing called Stonehenge. It's the calendar. We can't lose the calendar, right? Because then we lose our ability to plant and to hunt, right? It's tied to nature. So it was critical for us in our survival. And what we've invented is the ultimate pattern recognition tool. And we're seeing this already come to bear in medicine. So, for example, a human doctor will look at an MRI and be able to diagnose a disease at a certain point because they recognize the pattern of the disease. Now, good doctors may be seeing 10,000 cases, but an AI is seeing 100 million. And so the AI is able to recognize the pattern of disease earlier than we can, simply because it's able to collect more information and it has a broader view. But to your point, it's doing what we would do. It's looking for the same pattern of disease. It's got a much broader context and a much faster processor.
You're describing that just makes the future so much more exciting. We're going to get to a place where we're able to diagnose, or we're able to hire in a way that at a speed that we can't even comprehend.
Our species is changing. We're moving from the digital Stone Age to the digital Bronze Age. And things that we were not capable of doing before would be capable. What we've used AI mostly for is automating tasks that exists. That's the value we've seen in it. And that's why people are thinking the bubble will die. It will, unless we get creative enough, like in medicine, to use it for things that we've never used it for. The big problems that we face as a civilization are beyond our recruiting scope. We're talking about solving things like climate change, fusion energy, curing cancer. These are the sorts of things that AI enables that we have never been able to do before.
but I'm going to get us back to TA. I knew we'd go off.
For sure. Let's do it.
At the very beginning of the book, you share 5 examples of how AI is changing TA. You talk about candidate screening, sourcing candidates, providing labor market analytics, interview scheduling, and candidate engagement. Has that list changed? Has that primary list changed since you've written the book? Things like offer development or prepping candidates, would you add that to the list? Is it a longer list, or sort of where have we landed in terms of where we're going to place our first investments?
That is a good question. I don't know. It's where can we provide value is the question to me. And like, what part of the process, for example, I think we're probably not going to be scheduling interviews, right? That's probably going to go away from us.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the prepping your candidate definitely is something that we need to pick up. It is something we have abandoned as an industry. And any of us who are agency recruiters remember being required to do it. And to me, if you want to get more hires, the number one way to do that is to prep your candidates for the interview.
Your interviewers, your hiring manager and your interviewers. That's a piece of the prep that just is out the window, and that could
goes
solve
away.
so many of our problems.
Yeah, and it's a big help. It would solve a lot of our issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is like the thing we're talking about to me is, what is the best situation for us? What are we able to provide? What can we share that will be helpful? Because we've got to pick and choose. We've got to give up the manual stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got to become advisors to the business. And like, that's just something we've got to change.
This carves away at the model of recruiting as it exists. I think we talked about interview scheduling and that going away as a task. That is 50% of some people's jobs. So what does TA look like? Is it smaller? Do we have fewer people doing it?
Yeah.
Are we doing different things?
Yeah, it's smaller.
This keeps me up at night because I think our industry is shrinking, and I live in Seattle. So, there are recruiters literally on the streets because our large employers have gotten rid of a significant portion of their recruiting teams.
This was the presentation I just gave at Hire Easy at RecruitCon. The profession is shrinking by 5 to 7% per year. Automation is responsible for some of that. You see companies like Amazon, they're not hiring in recruiting. I mean, they will eventually come back and start to open the doors and recruit again, but they've lost a portion of that. It's gone. What else can we do? Like, that's just the way it's going to go. We are losing the profession. That's just what's going to happen to us. And it's a matter of, what's important. But yeah, for sure, we're going to lose jobs. We're going to go from about 1 million jobs now to probably about 600,000 jobs in 2030.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what automation will do. This is just the natural course of things. We will have fewer jobs, but then the people who are doing them, they'll be mission critical. You can't not have these people.
Right.
You absolutely, because what's the alternative? What are you actually doing? Nothing, right? We still have a job to do, and there will still be recruiters, but we will be doing less of the manual work.
Right.
We'll be doing less of the outreach, less of the scheduling. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to be the strategic advisors. We're going to go into the intake meeting and say, here is what the market is doing. Here's what the market is paying, right? Providing actionable intelligence to our partners. And then on the flip side, taking care of the candidates and making sure that they understand what's being asked of them.
Wish you could become a morning person? The type up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
Hey business owners, we know you know the importance of maximizing every dollar. With the Delta SkyMiles Reserve Business American Express card, you can make your expenses work just as hard as you. From afternoon coffee runs to stocking office supplies and even team dinners, you can earn miles on all your business expenses. Plus, you can earn 125,000 bonus miles for a limited time through October 29th. The Delta Sky Miles Reserve Business Card. If you travel, you know. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply. Offer ends October 29th, 2025.
If we're going to be a part of this profession, it's going to be important that we become much more engaged with how this technology is built, and even, according to you, consider building our own tools if what we need exists. I was just at HR Tech, and there were, it felt like thousands. It was probably more in the hundreds of tools that were newly AI enhanced in some way.
Right.
What do you find that's out there? How do you stay updated on tools? I get several newsletters every day that list at least a dozen new AI based tools, and every day there's a new set of tools, and I get 3 or 4 of these emails in the morning, and I'm at the point now where I want to turn them off because I can't keep up, because I can't look at all this stuff. What have you seen that is cool for TA?
I like the phone interviewing tools, honestly. It, to me, kind of resolves a challenge we've had. We call it the candidate black hole. They apply, we never hear from them. They're, applicant number 172, so we never see them.
Right.
And to me, this is an area where we can fix it. An AI will not do as good a job as a person.
Right.
Phone screening. But that's not the issue.
Explain to me what you mean, because I don't know if I agree that AI won't do as good a job as a human.
Maybe it will. That'd be even ideal,
I was
honestly.
hoping you'd fight me.
I don't know. I mean, that'd be even better if the AI can do it. That makes our life easier.
Yeah.
I'm all about it if we could do it, because it gives everybody a fair chance. Everybody has the opportunity to interview if there's an AI. I'm not saying it's, but compare that to nothing. Right? Compare that to anything.
Compare that to your average job posting that gets 400 or 500 applicants, and I phone screen 10, and the rest I just say, I'm not going to look at anything that you sent me.
Right. Because you can't.
Because you can't.
As a human, you just can't possibly get to the job. So for me, this is an exciting development in tech because it allows everybody to have a chance who wants one. And one candidate, 173, is, interested in going through the process. They'll show up as a high match, right? They'll show up as a 95% match. And then you can go talk to them. So, your diamond in the rough didn't get buried, and everybody who got a chance, who wanted a chance, got one. That's more fair. It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
But it's definitely more fair than it is now, which is I have nothing.
You talk about this. You talk about this in the book, and you talk about AI sort of eradicating bias. I wrote down rose-colored glasses kind of guy. What about externally driven bias? Does AI help us with addressing that?
I think just getting rid of people's names and identifying information is probably the best antidote, because you're just taking away the information needed to make a bias. If I don't have information about the person's name, then it's really hard to be biased about them. Where they went to school, where they live. If you take all that information away, you start to get rid of the bias. I'm not saying it's a perfect solution, but it's a way to systematically address the bias. And it'll never be perfect because there's always going to be somebody who wants to talk. But
it will never be perfect. I don't know if I am a big believer in those. There have been those tools that eliminate name and reference to place of origin and that kind of thing. But I just think that bias just shows up a little bit later down the line.
We have to be eternally vigilant. It's just a matter of we're human. Any data that we have is going to have our bias in it. And you can minimize it, but you can't get rid of it because you're dealing with human beings and they have their own point of view, for better and worse.
That's it. We may be able to filter up or filter into the process more and different types of candidates, but I think that external bias is going to always exist. I think you're absolutely on point there. So outreach, which is the bane of every recruiter's existence. We're all looking for any tool that would take that work away from me. I enjoyed the process of understanding what happens as a result of my outreach, but I'm never a fan of writing all the emails that I need to write to reach
Yeah.
out to candidates, or make all the phone calls that I need to make to reach out to candidates. Do you think that it's going to become commoditized though if we use these tools?
Yeah, I think so. And that's okay.
That's okay, you think?
Yeah, that's okay. Commoditization of labor is something that's just naturally going to happen. Everybody has their own take on it. C'est la vie, right?
Will these commoditized emails be so great at actually identifying candidates that it's worthwhile, that everyone will live with it? Right now, people don't like our commoditization because it doesn't match and it's no good. It's
Right.
recruiters trying to game the system.
But it's not going to matter. Like, it's just like the tools are going to take away the outreach, for example. So I could say, write, this email like it's a country song.
Don't send that to me.
Yeah, whatever, whatever it is. The thing is, to me, it's about creativity. It's about our creativity. That's going to be different. Like, we're going to have this capability that we didn't have. Like, what are we going to do with it?
I don't know if it's creativity as much as accuracy. So right now it's a scattershot approach, and there's a 1 in 50 chance that the recruiter's even gotten it right. I'm making that number up, but I don't think it is. Especially from where I come from, the tech recruiting world, people don't spend the time to really understand, is this person a great match for this particular role? And that takes a lot of investigating and understanding of the position and the person. So I'm hoping that AI improves that. And maybe if right now candidates are used to, a recruiter has reached out to me and there's a 1 in 50 chance that they've even matched me to the role. And if it turns out, an AI recruiting bot has gotten back to me, there's a 1 in 5 chance, there's a 1 in 3 chance that they've gotten it exactly right. We may eliminate the need to write emails
To match.
in the form of a country western song. So
Yeah, or however we want to. Yeah, but matching is going to get better for sure. Like,
yeah.
I was reading Recruiting Brain Food, and something on the LinkedIn study said that the human recruiters were getting 21% response rates when the AI was getting 34.
Interesting.
So it's already getting better at matching than we are, and getting attention, which isn't shocking. I mean, social media's AI's whole point is to get attention. So the fact that it will be better at getting attention shouldn't come as a shock. Actually, it's we should use that as an advantage. It's actually better at getting human eyeballs and human attention than a human writer.
But again, what you've done is you've cut another sliver away from what we do as recruiters. So, you can see the need actually changing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about candidate screening done by bots. What types of jobs? I think you list out some examples in your book, but what types of jobs are most successful at being screened by bots, or is it across the board?
I used to think it would do a good job, and I think now it can ask screening questions. But the challenge now, not just for us, but for AI and phone screen specifically, is validating the skill. How do I validate the skill? I feel like I've lost it. I've lost the ability to use AI to evaluate, because can another AI fool the one I have writing for me? Well, yes, easily, because it's not on the premise of talking to another human who could be deceptive. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just going to tell you what the facts are. So, like, what do we do? That's a different approach.
When I would train interviewers, I would ask them to get not only an example of what they've done, I get them to kind of imagine in a scenario of something of what they might do, so that we have both sides of that. I'm wondering if the candidate could train a bot to answer both sides of that.
Right. Yeah, you could. This is the tricky part. Like, how do we decide what's what? Like, it's literally the most confusing thing. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? This is a big question. Also, ethically, how do we do it? Like, where and when do we disclose AI in the process? That's a fair question. It's a tough question, but it's a fair one. I think we all want to know the answer to.
You have some thoughts, some recommendations?
Well, I think we ought to just be us and forget about I don't want to forget about the human element, but I want to forget about what we're looking for. Like, I want to talk about how are we going to use this to actually make our life easier? Yeah, I say it schedules, but what do I mean? How do I get it to schedule? How do I get it to write my emails? How am I getting it to do the work day to day? To me, this is the thing, because we've talked about it a lot, but we haven't actually applied it in a lot of cases. And this is why I think the hype bubble is starting to die. And I think actually you're seeing GPT and some of the others, they're starting to come out with like little guidebooks on how to use the system, because when they gave it to us, if you think about it, they just handed it over.
Right. That's
There were no directions. There was nothing about prompt engineering or here's how you get the best response. Like that to me is really the next kind of level of how we get good at this, is not only do we make it do these tasks, but we do them well. And that's going to take a little bit of time to get used to. But I think we need to understand that what it's capable of doing, it's capable of taking the phone interview. It's capable of scheduling the interview. It's capable of matching. So the resume to the job description, along with the notes it gets from phone interview. All of these things are capable. All of the manual day-to-day tasks of recruiting can now be done by AI. And I hate to break it to everyone out there who's looking for recruiting to recover. It will, but I actually had this conversation with our friend Jerry Crispin not too long ago. And he gave me the example of the bricklayers, right? There aren't any bricklayers anymore because there's bricklaying machines. But the people who run the bricklaying machines were bricklayers. And it's because they know what a wall should look like, right? They know the parameters. They know what good is and what will stand. This is recruiting. We're going to go back from being recruiters to recruiting machine runners. And the AI will do the sourcing. It'll do the matching. It'll do the outreach. It'll do on the phone screen. I know we're going to be hesitant to give up phone screens. I know that. I can hear people over there like, over my cold dead body, right? Like, I hear you. But listen, if 500 people apply to your job as a human being, you can't even look at 500 resumes realistically, much less screen 500 candidates. And so the 30 people you talk to are going to think you're a great recruiter. 29 of them are going to hate you because you didn't get them hired. But 30 of them will say they had a better experience than nothing. 470 are not going to hear from you at all. How do you think their candidate experience feels? How do you think they feel about you? And because they don't know you specifically, they feel about you, us, generically. Recruiters, you. And that hurts us collectively. And it has for a long, we joke amongst ourselves. There's always a presentation. Somebody says, Google's recruiters are, and then it fills in the blanks, right? It's all terrible. Like, let's end that. This is a way to end that. Anybody who wants a chance to interview gets one. That's fair. Not whoever you happen to land on for whatever reason you did. That's not fair, actually. It's the definition of not fair. You pick 500 people who apply for a job and 30 of them randomly get selected to be reviewed. That's not fair. And it can't be. So to me, like, this is a little bit of like letting go of the ego and first realizing, one, we could never do the job. We were never physically capable of doing the job. And number two, most of the people we didn't do the job for hate us. Looking for a job is like one of the great stresses in life. Some people would rather die. Like, they're less afraid of dying or speaking in public or something like that than looking for a job. And this is why. This is a big part of why. And so we can solve that and make this better. And to me, that's what we really should be focused on. If you want to be a recruiter, you want to stay, there's room for you here, right? There's still going to be jobs. They're going to be different. They're going to be you running an AI and you running a process strategically. Where you interact with your candidates isn't by interviewing them. They're going to pass the interview by the time they talk to you. What you're going to do is, I'm your guide. I'm your guide here. I'm your helper. Here's the questions that are going to be in the in-person interview. Here are the type of questions based on, and this is where AI can help us too. Take the candidate resume, take the job description, throw them into the system. Tell the AI, make me a candidate interview prep for this type of job. Give me questions that are likely to be asked during an interview. And based on the resume I'm giving you, help me come up with starter answers using the STAR format. And then right there, in seconds. You have your star formatted preparation guide. You mail the candidate and you go over with them in person and you prep them for the interview. I guarantee you they'll actually start to like you after that, right? Because you're taking your time to actually help them. This is how you build a real network, too, for the recruiters who are interested in that. Because whether that candidate gets the job or not now, you're their friend.
Right.
You did something for them. You helped them to try and get a job, and that counts for something. So that's number one, the way the job changes. Number two, it's all about reporting. We're terrible at this. I'm terrible at this. But we need to get good at this. We have to be able to report back, because as we become more and more technology focused, we're going to become more and more numbers and data driven. And that's how it's going to be. Like, our performance right now is how many people did we hire? Performance in the future is how many people did our system hire? The system we manage.
Right.
That's how we'll be rated. So there are going to be less jobs. They're going to pay more. And they're going to do more. They're going to be strategic, whereas the job is very tactical today. We're responsible for delivering individual people into individual jobs. To your point, Carmen, that's not as efficient. The AI can handle the maintenance of a pipeline. What we're needed for is to help the humans through it and to give our business partners who are doing the actual hiring the information they need to make a good decision, including things like, you can't see a few more, the market won't bear it. According to our resources, I can get you 4 people to interview. After 4 people are to interview, you need to hire.
Right.
Because that's what the data says.
Hey, this is William Tincup, and you should know about the You Should Know podcast. It's a topical, fun podcast with Ryan, myself, and a guest, or guests, plural sometimes, and we tackle the most timely topics of the day. Give it a look, give it a listen, and subscribe. Thanks.
Surprisingly, what I think is that managers will accept that much more readily than they would accept from a recruiter.
Right. It's crazy, but it's true.
I can't believe we are running out of time. So I have a few questions here, but I think you actually started to go down this road and thinking about leadership planning. So you walk through in the book a TA strategy enhanced by AI, and you kind of walk through what that might look like. So do leaders need to do anything differently now? I think that now is the time actually when they start to accommodate some of these tools and these approaches. How would you recommend that TA leaders actually start to plan? In my mind, I thought, well, if I was leading a TA team, I'd just get a group of people who are on this, and we probably figure out one of those 4 or 5 areas where we want to place our bets and help us figure out what tools, what methods, what approaches, what changes we'd like to see.
So if you're a leader, hopefully in TA, you have some idea where your bottlenecks are. And that's where you should focus. To me, the number one bottleneck right now is still engagement. Right? We still aren't able to get candidates to respond to us very well.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was me sitting in TA leadership, I would look and say, okay, what are the tools for engagement? Now, once I did that, I'd also want to involve, if you haven't already, HR and legal, and say, we need, if we don't have one already, an AI use case policy. And I'm coming to you from TA, so let's invent the part that involves TA, and I'll let you handle the rest of it later. If you don't have one, this is where you need one, because making decisions as a TA leader on technology can get you into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who are very hesitant. They're concerned about tone and messaging, and perhaps rightly so. I did build one, for example, when I was at Wilson. I built a GPT for them that was basically a repository of product knowledge that could answer customer questions, right? Like, that was a valuable use for it. Sometimes in RPO, if you're coming into an account, you can create an agent to take all the information from all your QBRs, all of your messages between the candidate, the client, and yourself, and create a repository that specializes just in that client. And when you have somebody new come in, here's your agent who knows everything about this client. So there are a lot of different low-risk ways to apply. And that's what I would look for first. I'd look for something like the 2 examples I just mentioned, something you're very unlikely to get in trouble for, something that's very unlikely to be like you're using AI to write emails. That's not a use case I've ever, right? You're fine.
Right.
And it's very unlikely with the modern models, Gemini and GPT 4.0 or whatever it is now, they're not going to say anything terrible. There's too much money invested by Google and Amazon and Microsoft and OpenAI to one instance like that goes viral. It costs them billions of dollars in stock. So at this point, they have invested so much money, so much time. These are professional models. You might as well be talking to a professional at that level. It's not going to swear at you. It's not going to tell you you're stupid. It's not going to try and convince you to do something bad. Like, we're past that, which is a good thing. So a lot of that is still lingering. People see that as a risk, that those behaviors, that's why they're hesitant.
Right.
Those behaviors are in the past. And with GPTs, when you give it specific writing instructions and specific examples, you're putting even more guardrails on. So it won't hallucinate. That's the other challenge. Just make stuff up. But if you say, here are the rules and here's the example, then it doesn't really need to make stuff up. And so for me, the thought would be, one, where's the low-hanging fruit for automation? I'm going to guess, without knowing your pipeline, the top of the funnel, outreach to response, is a huge 80% loss, at least. That's where I'd focus first, because AI is great at writing emails. It's great at getting people's attention. And that's a bottleneck that really hurts.
That and the follow-up, right? You know what? I wrote this. Guess what? You screened with us. And guess what? You didn't make the cut, and here's why, or here's a little bit of why, and here's what you can do next. But we don't do that very well at all.
Yeah. And it's not that challenging.
Yeah. It's not challenging work, but it is challenging because of the numbers. And so AI can.
Right. The repetitiveness.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that's going to be good at. So if I was a TA leader, those are the two things. You definitely want to talk to legal before you dive. Yeah. Because they will have, I guarantee you, their own thoughts on this. And lawyers, by profession, are very conservative.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Once they sign off, like we signed off on emails, that's it. It's done. Yeah. We know what the rules are. And that's the important part for TA leaders. And the other thing I would say if it was a TA leader is I'd want to have a part in writing the rules. Not just bring it up, say, hey, we need it. But actually volunteer and say, I'm happy to lead this part of the discussion because it's relevant to what we do, and talk about specifically how we do and do not use AI. Also disclosing when. If you're using it to write outreach email, in my opinion, you ought to be disclosing that.
Right.
And here's why. Imagine 2 years from now when AI is so good, Carmen, that it looks like you and me are having this conversation, but it's our avatars, right? Our avatars have watched us and they're now having a replay, but the speed is so good, right? There's no lag. You can't tell it's us. And this is the threat we face from AI. The real danger isn't Skynet. It's the ability to lose what's real and who you're talking to. And so for me as a TA leader, this would be a huge interest of me because I don't want to interview a bunch of fake people.
And that has been happening, quite frankly, more often than I think
it will continue to happen.
And it will continue to happen. They've been really bad, so it's easy to catch, but
right,
they will get better.
When they get really good, and in a year or two, we won't be able to tell, and it'll be too late. And not being able to tell if you're talking to a human or a computer is a threat to our civilization. Because now you have no way of knowing what's real. And that is a real, actual existential threat. So please, when you are using AI, disclose you're using AI. Get used to it. It's not a lot a day. I promise you, when this becomes a problem, and it will become a very, very big problem, there'll become all kinds of laws about it.
Yeah.
But as a best practice to keep yourself safe, when you use AI to generate content, disclose it. I set the example.
Yeah.
I wrote the book. I credited the author.
Are there others who have written books with that using AI? Are there other books like this?
I'm certain there are. But did they disclose that they used AI to write it or not?
I don't know.
And see, this is the problem.
That's the problem.
This is exactly the problem. You have no idea. And it's okay when it comes to a science fiction book. It's not okay when it comes to the 5 o'clock news.
Exactly. I'm going to leave us there on that note, because you've given us a lot to think about. I'm going to reserve the opportunity, if I can, to re-interview you, because I think that this is a topic that has no end right now to the depths that we need to be thinking about it. So I really
For
appreciate
sure.
your joining us for the Recruiting Book Club. And I'm actually going to walk around with all kinds of thoughts today as a result of this conversation. So I appreciate your writing the book, and I appreciate your really being able to thoughtfully discuss it, because you put quite a few big issues right in front of us.
Awesome. Thanks, Carmen, for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I get it. The podcast just isn't enough. That's all right. Head over to your favorite social app, search up Work Defined, WRK Defined, and connect with us.